What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to Veve Vibes. And part 3, I know it's taken me a while, like it's hard. There's so many categories and I wanted to get through them all in one video, but I was like, I might need to make 2 or 3 parts. So we're gonna double time it this time because I do think a lot of these are, some of these are pretty self-explanatory and some of them are redundant to ones that I've said before. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. So DC, Artist Alley. These are, I would say Wonder Woman is doing great. Hot Girl is another FA. Hawk Girl, not Hot Girl. I don't, it's, when you say it quickly enough, it sounds one way, not the other. But Hot Girl, I think she's okay. But the other two, they're just not FAs. I don't think they're particularly exciting or anything like that. But if you do invest in Wonder Woman, I think it's great. I think it's definitely up here for the most part. I'd probably put it above Powerpuff Girls as well, but maybe still probably above Guardians of the Galaxy. It depends. Again, if you go with Hot Girl or Wonder Woman, you'll be fine. Preferably Wonder Woman. The other two, again, aren't terrible investments. I do think they'll do well as well. But I'll put DC Artist Alley up here. It is some pretty significant FAs in there, and even the FEs aren't terrible. And if you do buy them, it's fine. I don't think you're gonna like lose a bunch of gems, but it just might be a slower profit to be had. Kripkins. This has been pretty hit or miss for me. I've collected quite a few of these, tried flipping them. And the second there's an announcement or gem squeeze, these are one of the first things that get sold on the market because they just fit in that perfect range of anywhere between like 40 to 60, 70, 80 gems. I know there's some ones that are more expensive, but you know, if you need 50 gems for the next drop, Kripkins, you just sell one, you get 50 gems and that's it. And like, but when you do that enough times between 50, 60 different people, that's Kripkins. So, I don't think they're the worst investment. You have to like you have to just basically just play the gem squeezes if you want to get profit out of this. Again, I don't want to put it in C tier. They're not terrible. Like I honestly like the look of a lot of them. I love that it shows a lot of the like regional folklore beasts and like creatures and stuff. But I would probably put it below Voltron and Ghostbusters and a few others. So I'll put this in low B tier. Coca-Cola, huge brand. Still right now kind of getting stomped by Spider-Man and Disney and all of them as well. I think we need to see more NFTs from them. I think the snow globes just simply isn't enough. The polar bear is super iconic. There's some good margin trading to be had here, and Coca-Cola is one of the most collectible just companies, you know, when it comes to memorabilia and merchandise in the world. Mostly regional, obviously, to the US. That's mostly where it is, but I think internationally it's pretty well recognized too. I mean, it's huge internationally, but when it comes to collectors, Coca-Cola, I think it's good. At least, especially if you focus on the commons. Gem for gem, I think that the uncommon snow globe is some of the best gems you can get. It's a bit of a slower sale because I think the commons move more. But you honestly can't go wrong with any of them, in my personal opinion. So I probably have to put it somewhere here in like the mid B tier. As you guys have noticed, there's a lot of B tier stuff. Like there's some profit to be had with the Coca-Cola bottles and all that stuff, but I think I would probably put it above Cover Girls and probably somewhere between like Tokidoki and like Murmacornos, something like that. Again, I might have to like reshuffle these here in the near future, but Serial Killers, it's really hard to recommend these. I do think, unfortunately, a lot of the utility has just been kind of used up. I'll put it on the high end of C tier. They've actually seen a small little price increase in the near future, but or in the, you know, recently. But it just seems like the second people sack them and the second that the airdrops happen, people just got rid of them en masse. Like basically the utility of the serial killers was used up. And then once people didn't get the airdrops and the second wave of airdrops came, that was pretty cool. But again, I just don't see serial killers doing that well. It's going to heavily rely on Immutable X and how well it's going to do on that platform. But I just see, again, the serial killer set, a lot of the NFTs are anywhere between, you know, 50 to 100, 150 gems, maybe even 200. And then that seems to fit in the realm perfectly of when people need to liquidate stuff for a drop, they just sell that. Why sell, you know, why sell your Zombie Hunter Spider-Man? Why sell your Batgirl when you could just sell a serial killer? You can sell a Kripkin to have enough gems. Like, you know, I think in the back of their mind, people know that the Batgirl and those other ones are going to go up in price more than these other versions. Next one is Chaosium. I believe this is the Cthulhu one with like the book. I think this one's like, pretty cool. I haven't seen a lot of movement though, and it's hardly ever talked about. I just don't see much happening with this. So I know Veve Vault had that cool video of the Necronomicon and all that stuff, but again, it's not one I'd really invest in. Maybe if certain groups or people get involved on Veve, they might want these, but it's one of the categories I'd probably avoid. Captain America. This is the series that's the FE, not the FA. Obviously, the FA is the Marvel Mighties, but the FE version that saw a pretty hefty pump not too long ago, and there was a lot of hype around the secret rare, and then it kind of trickled down to the other rarities. I do think these could do pretty well for the most part, despite the fact that they're only FEs and not FAs. Will do better than some of these other ones, potentially. Is it a safer bet than things? I do think it's a safer bet than Da Vinci. Again, I'm trying to talk about things that are going to do well on platform. If you heavily rely on Mutable X to like get some sales and kind of increase the price inadvertently to Veve, me personally, I'm not like a huge fan of that. The Bombshell series. So this is what, Big Barda and a few others, right? I'm trying to remember who else is part of the Bombshell series. I'm just double checking here. Pretty sure I'd rank this one on like the lowish end. It's not terrible. Yeah, I would say probably the most recognizable one is obviously Harley, Quinn, and Starfire. I just think there's way better investments for the amount, so I'd probably put them on the low end here. I think it's better than Voltron. It's better than the Decon and Ghostbusters, and Jermaine Rogers, but I don't think it's as good as the Cover Girls. So again, I think there's better investments to be had in their price ranges, but if you do pick one up, it will be profitable. It's not as speculative as some of the independent artists or some of the lesser named IPs there. DC Battle Statue. Now this one is very contentious. Like, people talk about the artist and how she's super popular. It's another version of, it's just as popular as Todd McFarlane in a way, but maybe a little bit lesser known, at least his communication with like the DC franchise. I'm not entirely certain on this one. I do have a general idea. I do think it'll do well. I will put it in B tier because I don't think it has Batman on it, and people make the notion, oh, it's Batman in color. I don't think that's a selling point. People are going to jump on the platform and be like, hey, I want to buy a Batman and it has to be in color, or whatever it is. People are going to react to obviously what's on the platform. So I do think it's better than these. I'll probably put it mid to high B tier for the most part. And again, I'm kind of talking, I do think it's a safer bet than Da Vinci for the most part, but maybe not as good or as consistent as like Captain America for now. We need to see more history on this too. Choices, this is Jermaine Rogers again, so I knew I was kind of like mess up and double up on one. I'm just gonna put that next to the other one. I don't think it matters. Black and White series, S tier. This is very at the top. The Black and White series has Todd, the Rizzo, Becky Cloonan, and all those. And there's actually occasionally some very good pickups. Darwin Cook, some of the FA Robin, like FA Robin, FA Harley, FA Joker, like those are all very solid. Those are very easy staples to get into. I think even more recently, someone told me about Batman 71. That one had some, after this gem squeeze, has some huge profit margin potential in here. So again, when it comes to S tier, I think these are all intermixed. Maybe some will do better than others. I mean, I guess we could do something like this just because Black and White series, has the 2.5% fee, but this is higher. So it's hard to say between those two. Like, they're all amazing. Back to the Future. So this is including the DeLoreans and the hoverboards. I kind of just put them together. Not terrible. I actually made some pretty good margin trading doing hoverboards for a while, especially when people were talking about the Veve-verse and can you rent them and not rent them and back and forth. The vehicles, not so much. It seems like the vehicles, obviously after this most recent pump, they've just been kind of hovering around 100 to 120 for like a long time. Part of me does kind of like the Ecto one a bit more, even though it has a fifth of the mints when we're talking the commons. But at the end of the day, I think more people probably know Back to the Future. I do think it's probably better than Voltron, I would say. Like, at least if you're thinking hoverboards. I'm talking mostly hoverboards, not so much the DeLoreans. But again, like I said, all this is a gross generalization. Like, there's some NFTs that are very good in a group, and then some other ones that aren't so good. And so I have to take both of those into consideration. So I'll probably put it up here. I would invest in this before Labbits and Jermaine Rogers, but I'd probably invest in Cover Girls and Bombshells before this. Adventure Time is another one that I think that just falls victim to there's just bigger named IPs on the platform, and it's just getting bullied out by those. So that's why I said Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Adventure Time, Powerpuff Girls, like Coca-Cola, like there's just other NFTs that I think are just bullying them out that are fellow similar price point that I'd rather invest in. So until those big names price themselves out, now there's actually room for Adventure Time and some of the other ones to grow as well. And this is the second set that's ever been released on the platform. It was the first series of Black and White, and then it came Adventure Time, which is pretty crazy to think of. But Adventure Time, there is some margin trading to be had. There is rumors of pump groups and stuff within the Adventure Time, kind of like NFTs and stuff like that. So Again, this is another one, you just have to play the gem squeezes. If you can play the gem squeezes, there's definitely some good margin to be had. But yeah, so I would probably put it somewhere around here. I think it's better than Kripkins and Voltron, as well as some of the decon stuff. Probably want to put it around here with like Ghostbusters. I'm not sure if I want to put it like above or below the Jermaine Rogers stuff, because at least these do see some movement. For now, I'll put it here. Comics. So I just put the Marvel Comics #1. I am not a comic guru at all whatsoever. I really wish I knew the nuances, and I do one day or maybe a week. I will force myself to dig into the comics, find out which is the rare ones, what is a good price margin for this compared to this. Not as knowledgeable about the comics as I am the collectibles, but just comics in general. I'm talking like all comics, and this is like the most gross generalization. I will put comics at S tier. Again, like they're all tied. Like if you know what you're buying and what you're doing, there are some insane profit margins you can get with comics. Especially it gets propped up a lot by the master collector points. Some of the rares of even the trash tier like comics, some of the rares, just because it gives you good master collector points, are going up in price, and that is something to take into consideration. So comics, if you know which ones you're buying, I highly suggest you guys check out Comics and Crypto, Sleepin' in Comics, VVrank.com, which is also hosted by Sleepin' Comics. So if you guys want to understand the nuances of comics and which ones to buy, what are good first appearances and all that, I suggest you check them out. But for me, it's not something I know, but I do know I'm kind of selling myself short by not understanding comics, and I will do that one day. USPS postal stamps. It's hard because I literally combined all these together, the Day of the Dead stamps, as well as the Christmas ones, and the most recent ones, which are like the new Lunar New Year, which it sounds like the community thinks that the Lunar New Year ones will do the best. For the most part, like compared to all the stamps, potentially. Not entirely sure, but from my experience with the stamps, they tend to go up and down. But again, you might have to just like play the gem squeezes with this one. I don't see the stamp community flocking to the Veve platform to collect these digital stamps. I mean, I'm sure some people will, but not en masse to the level of like the Marvel, the DC, and some of the other like bigger franchises as well. So I do think it's a decent investment. I would definitely put it above like Labbits and some of the other ones, and like. But would I put it above Back to the Future for now, or so like DC Bombshells and some of these ones? Not likely. Probably put it below Back to the Future for now. Do I think it's better? It's probably more consistent than Adventure Time. It's a little less speculative, but Unicornos, hard to say on this. I'm probably just gonna put these right next to the Mermacornos. Don't have too much to say. In my mind, they're kind of one of the same. I'm sure some people are gonna kill me for saying that, but I think they're one of the same. As you can see, we're really loading up the B tier right now, so maybe after this, I'll probably start shoving some things to make it a tiny bit more polarizing. So, Ultraman. Ultraman falls in the same category of Voltron. It's a bit too speculative for me. I will admit, if localization time's up, a lot of the governments in Southeast Asia are open to having them go on Veve and get on the market and all that stuff. Like, if everything aligns perfectly, it is probably going to be one of the biggest payoffs on the platform, but not the biggest, but it's one of the biggest payoffs on the platform. But it's just way too speculative for me. I'd rather just stick with, and as far as I know, the Ultraman that's in the Ultraman actual 3D NFTs aren't even the original Ultraman. It's like a Netflix 3D not knockoff, but the more recent iterations of Ultraman. Now the posters are actually the OG Ultraman, which I think is what the Southeastern Asian market would like more, rather than what the actual 3D ones are. So for now, I'd probably put it put it above Voltron. I'd probably put it above some of these. At least it does have some like price movement, and there is like a catalyst that's involved with it. So I might even like put it like in here, but for now, I'll probably put it above Adventure Time and Ghostbusters and all those other ones. But I think Jermaine Rogers and all that stuff, I think they're good where they're at. All right, we're getting to the last few. So now we have the Marvel Throg. Oh man, I honestly invested quite a bit into this one. Didn't really pay off. Again, it was probably just bad timing. But again, I don't think this is one you necessarily want to invest in. Now the common and the uncommon, or maybe the common and rare, whatever, the two or lower rarity ones are pretty good. There is a decent amount of movement, but when you go to the ultra rare, there is the catalyst that Loki season 2 was announced. So we could see a second appearance of Throg. We could also see a Pet Avengers movie or a show coming out. It's definitely much more like kid friendly. I think Marvel/Disney went a Pet Avengers thing with Throg and Alligator Loki and potentially some other ones. I'm trying to remember who's in the entire cast of Pet Avengers. Not entirely certain if I would put it like, I might put it around here. It's definitely on like the low C tier. It's not C tier. It's not something you want to completely avoid. I do think there's some margin to be had, but I can't recommend it to someone if they're looking for like huge profits or very, very secure gain. So maybe I'll definitely put it above Decon, but maybe I'll put it probably right about there. Mickey, this is the Steamboat Willie series, the NFT collection. I'm curious to see how far they're going to go with this Mickey Mouse NFT collection, if they eventually do maybe a Fantasia version of Mickey or whatever it is. This is S tier, bar none. People have been saying Steamboat Willie was a grail. I'll be honest, there was half a dozen times where I thought about selling my ultra rare that I won on drop until the community started just shouting out like, hey, this is a grail, don't sell it. This is a huge part of Disney community. Every Disney collector is going to want this. So I'm like, all right, I'll hold. Even though there was a point where I could have traded it for a Todd 1-for-1. I ended up not doing it. So it is what it is. So, and last but not least, I didn't do this on purpose. And I've said a lot about Superman. Is this truly a grail? Is it the FA of Superman? He seems to be heavily affected by dips. There's a time he went below 5K at one point. Like, in my mind, grails don't lose, 35, 40% of their value because of a dip. It just seems a bit strange that he's being so heavily affected. He could be just a victim to the fact that he's like one of the cheaper grails on the platform, as well as him having a 2.5% fee. Because when you look at some of the Golden Moments and some other ones, as well as like the Mickey Mouse collection and some certain comics, like those kind of grails, it does rank up there. But I'm debating whether I want to put it very, very high A tier. It is very susceptible to just dips in general. It is the one that's been smacked around the most. I do think that the community would get mad at me, but it's like, if overall in the long run, I do think Superman will do well. He'll do fine. FA Superman. I will admit the most recent media interpretations of Superman when it comes to movies and films and maybe some shows and stuff, maybe don't paint him in the best light, and they could have done a better job, just DC in general, making Justice League just kind of better overall. There is that. So yeah, this is pretty much the tier list. This is all of them. I will probably shuffle some of these around. I will admit Deadpool is probably low A tier, below Alligator Loki. I do think if you invest in Wonder Woman, she is definitely a low A tier on here. I think she kind of carries this DC artist alley. Hot Girl isn't terrible. The other two aren't terrible. But if you get Wonder Woman, it's down here. I do think Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Red I think they're good where they're at in the high A tier. Powerpuff Girls, I kind of want to like move them down a bit more, put them below like the DC and these big names here. The middle is a kind of a big mess, to be honest, for the most part. At least when we come to Voltron and Decon, I would say a good portion of the Decon stuff, just avoid, unless you get Little Friend Silver or some of the 2D art. But I would very much avoid some of the other ones. Let me see if I can remember some of the names for the Decon art. So for the most part, like the 90s edition ones, I don't know how well the Ghost Bears have been doing. To be honest, I haven't looked at those too closely. Some of the cheaper skateboards tend to move around a lot. OG Devil Bunnies don't seem to have a lot of movement as well. And it's just also just very speculative on Immutable X. So if you have a bunch of gems, I wouldn't just jump into Decon just because, independent artists, Immutable X. I'd wait to see some sales in Immutable X first, unless you want to be one of those guys that pioneers jumping into Immutable X and listing that Shut Up and Draw or the Volcobra, I forgot what the name is, the Vulture thing on there as well. Just trying to see if there's anything else I should probably move around. I know some people are going to freak out, but this is just me. This is my opinion at the end of the day. I know some people might throw Da Vinci up in S tier. I totally understand. Some people might put Adventure Time in A tier because it's a season 1 collectible. How could you do this? Coca-Cola should be S tier. It's one of the biggest brands in the world. Any of the independent artists are trashed here. Like, people are going to come up with their opinions, right? That's why I'm doing this. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. What do you guys think of the tier list? I moved some stuff around as well a little bit. So I'm going to try my best to put this out in the community. I'm just kind of curious to see where people put their lists. There's not that many NFTs that are bad. I think that's kind of the good thing. There's not a lot of NFTs that are just like, do not buy. You will just not necessarily lose money, but it's like you will either gain money or you will have to sit on it for a very long time to see any kind of profit. But the majorities are very, very good. I do like the NFTs just on the platform in general. I'm excited to see more, because once these numbers double, I'll probably do another tier list a few months from now, and that video is probably going to take me 4 hours to do, but I'm excited to do this kind of stuff for you guys at the end of the day. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of my tier list. I'll probably put, if I'm able to put a link down in the description, you guys can fill it out. I would love to see what the community thinks, because if you scroll up here, apparently you can look at the community rank. It'll show you like the average of where people have been putting everything for the most part. And of course, put all the fun emotes and stuff on here. I'll put a little poo emoji, because I'm sure some people are gonna poo on my tier list, but that's fine at the end of the day. So that's pretty much it. Hope you guys take care, and I'll catch you on the flip side.